I'm going to go ahead and hide some of these columns. Now, if you want to follow along with me, you certainly can. Actually, let me open this back up. If you want to follow along with me when it comes to the bucket system, there's a cheat sheet. You can find a link for it in the description. It's going to look like this. Basically, just go to the bucket system tab, hit the filter, and you'll have access to the filter as well. So you can use the filter on here however you like. I will be using the same thing, and just so you understand that it is the exact same thing that I'm covering, I'll zoom in for you because it does, I'm hiding some other columns, but it makes it a little easier to see that it is a one-for-one that you're looking at. If I just scroll one more over, you'll see. Okay. So I will put a filter on this. I suggest you put a filter on yours if you're following along with me. And we're just going to go one by one through all the stats. So you can see the stat over here in column A for the bucket. We're going to start with our last year bucket. When we take a look at this, when it comes to the bucket system, I want you to focus on these two columns: max projection, min projection. Whatever's in our min projection, we round up. Whatever's in our max, or I'm sorry, in our min projection, we round down. So let me just repeat that just to avoid confusion. Anything in the min projection, we round down to the whole number. Anything in the max projection, we round up. So you can see in this very first bucket, last year ones, our min is 1.55, our max is 2.59. So this really reads 1 to 3. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, what I like to do personally in these preview videos is also kind of consult this column over here, which is another max projection column. This incorporates all the sweet spot scores for that bucket and kind of readjust the projection based off of, is it a strong bucket or is it a weak bucket? Sometimes these go down, sometimes they go up. So like 2.34 goes down from 2.59. 1.54 is actually going up from 1.48. So you can kind of see. I think what the conservative projection, it actually kind of shrinks. You know, the projections, you're not going to see such a wide range. Basically, all that I'm telling you, why I'm telling you this is there is one important rule. I always require a 2-point buffer between the minimum and the maximum. So if we look at this bucket right here, 0.16 rounds down to 0. 0.26 rounds up to 1. I need a 2-point buffer. So really, this would be 0 to 2 no matter what. So keep that in mind when we go through this. I usually always remind you when we're looking at these different buckets that, hey, you can choose up to 2 from this bucket, although it says 0 to 1. If for whatever reason, let's pretend like this one up here, this 2.34 goes below 2, and it's like 1.99, and the projection over here says 1 to 3. This 1.99 brings the minimum down to 0. So this would actually read 0 to 3. That would be the new projection, and that's what we would go with. So now that we get that out of the way, let's go ahead and get through these buckets. Last year 1, we're projecting 1 to 3. And when we look at the conservative max projection, it's 2.34. That is 3. There are some other stats we can look at. We can look at the success rate. This is taking all of the golfers into account that have ever been in this bucket, which of course is top 20 finishes from the tournament the year before. 12%, not super high. 20 is where we're kind of looking for. Anything north of like 16, 18% is a good thing. Now, we do have an 88% frequency rate, meaning all but 1 year. I'm pretty sure of 9 years, 8 of those years, we had at least one guy from this bucket inside the top 10. Now, we have 16 in that bucket where we normally have 18, but we have a pretty high strength of field point total that goes towards it. So keep that in mind. Now, if we take a look at this bucket, again, you can follow along with me on the cheat sheet. There's a link in the description. Put a filter on that. Put the DraftKings filter. And then go to the last year bucket right here. Clear everything out and just select last year 1. From this bucket, remember, we want 1 to 3 golfers. I shouldn't even say we want. I'm projecting 1 to 3 golfers to be inside the top 10. So if that gives you confidence to play 1, 2, or 3 golfers, by all means do so. There are some really big hitters up here. Cantlay and Rahm have tremendous, well, I should say Cantlay has really good course history. So too does Rahm if you give him a first place finish instead of a withdraw. So that's one thing to keep in consideration, because his course history isn't going to look super great on my spreadsheets because I include that withdraw from COVID. So he has good course history. So too does Patrick Cantlay. Rory and Xander have okay, like actually pretty good course history. And then you can see some of these other guys have pretty good course history as well. Where I'm looking at this column right here. So 1 to 3 golfers being inside the top 10. Here's one way to look at it. Instantly, you might be thinking, I want 3 golfers from this bucket. But how likely is it that Rahm, Cantlay, and either Rory or Xander finish inside the top 10? Probably pretty high, right? So literally those 3 or 4 golfers could finish inside the top 10. They would satisfy the projection, and you might only be able to play 1 or at most 2 of those guys. So you got to think to yourself, what's the likelihood of, 2 or more of these golfers finishing inside the top 10 versus 2 or more golfers, or actually really 1 or more golfers from this section finishing inside the top 10. But, to me, I kind of look at it like, all right, this gives me confidence playing one of these 10K golfers. I got no issue starting here. Whether it's Rahm, Rory, Cantlay, or Xander, I kind of already like it already. These are golfers I want to build my lineups around. The hard part is combining them with, another guy from this bucket, or just starting with, someone as expensive as like Jon Rahm. But to me, what I tend to do is, okay, Rahm, do we like Sung Jae enough to play him? Maybe. How about Jordan? Sith Theegala's rating out really well in my model. So you can kind of see, you can add some of these guys together. Like, what if it's Rahm and Keith Mitchell from this bucket that finish inside the top 10? Satisfies the projections. And, I guess that's all that I have to say is it satisfies the projections. Keith Mitchell makes lineup building a little easier if you pair him up with Rahm. So too would be like a Denny McCarthy or even Siwoo Kim at $8,000. I mean, it's really up to you. Do you see 2 or more golfers from this bucket finishing inside the top 10? And if you do, can you realistically pair them together? Those are kind of the questions you have to consider when selecting golfers from this bucket. But the projection is 1 to 3. I don't see it failing. We're definitely getting 1, if not 2. 3's borderline. It's borderline. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if I see 3 from this bucket, but I definitely see 2. And I'm not going to be afraid of playing 3 guys, by the way. I'm telling you, I might not see 3, but I'm also going to let the optimizer do its work, and it might select 3 guys, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. Going to the next bucket. Last year 2s is at the 20 to 40 range of finishing positions last year. 0 to 2 is a projection, so it's not a for sure thing. 88% frequency rate, 15% success rate. We actually have 1 more golfer in it than we usually do. A pretty low strength of field. And really the conservative max projection over here doesn't boost it up enough. So 0 to 2 is that projection. And in this bucket, we have Jason Day, Wyndham Clark, Shane Lowry, 8K golfers and above. Only 3 7K golfers, and then it drops into the 6K range. So 0 to 2, I think, is a very solid projection of finishing inside the top 10. I would not play more than 2 of these guys together. So if, say, you liked Jason Day and Shane Lowry, don't pair them up with anyone else. I just don't see this bucket getting 3 or more. So just only select 2. The next bucket is 0 to 2. Those are last year 3s. That's that 40 to 60 range. Very similar, like everything that I just said about the last year 2 bucket, you could apply here for the last year 3 bucket. Let's see what golfers we have here. Actually starts with Victor Hovland at $9,700. Cam Young at 88. Cam Davis at 77. Kuchar, Kirk, and KH Lee, 7K golfers and above. The rest of them in the 6K range. Now, this is a bit more interesting because I could actually see 3 of these guys finishing inside the top 10. However, they're very volatile. And this might help curb us from playing too many of these guys. Because I do like Hovland. I do like Young. I don't mind going back to Cam Davis. And I wouldn't mind playing like Matt Kuchar in my lineups or Chris Kirk. KH Lee's kind of a... what would you call it? A wild card. I don't know if I want KH Lee in my lineups. And these 6K golfers, I don't mind playing 1 or 2 of them here and there. Now it really makes me kind of question, like, I could see myself building a Victor Hovland, Cam Young, and Cam Davis lineup without even seeing this bucket. Like, it seems like a pretty good start. But knowing the projection 0 to 2, I'm going to stick with it. I kid you not. I follow the bucket system to the 100% mark. You know, like I'm following it blindly or whatever you want to call it. Like I'm very strict with the rules that I do on the bucket system, and I will follow this. So I'm not going to put those 3 golfers together. And we just saw in the review of the Charles Schwab Challenge, you know, we basically had 100% success rate with the bucket projections. So I'm just going to stick with it. Going to the next one, last year 4s, 0 to 1. Nothing really changes with the conservative projection. I think we only have 3 golfers in this bucket. I'll double check. Yeah, 3. Fowler, Scott, and Brandon Wu. Hey, guess what? Don't play Ricky Fowler and Adam Scott together. Now, granted, remember, I just went on a spiel with this in the review video, and I kind of talked about here in the with the bucket system. We need a minimum of a 2-point threshold between the minimum and the maximum. We have 0 to 1 as the true projection, but that 2-point buffer makes it 0 to 2 as the actual projection. But let's not kid ourselves. I think if you played 2 of these guys, it's probably not good. But if you were, it's Ricky Fowler, Adam Scott, right? You're not going to do Brandon Wu with Adam Scott or Ricky Fowler with Brandon Wu. Just, I think that'd be silly. Adam Scott, 6th in my model, $8,000. The optimizer will be selecting a lot of Adam Scott. I'm actually okay with that. I don't like the 60, like finishing inside like 60th place from the year before. Usually never a good omen. No, that's just superstition, really. But this bucket really never produces results in any tournament. Like I saw Jordan Spieth at the Waste Management Open at one time, having this finish, having or not. Maybe it wasn't there. It was at a course that he's really good at. He was in this bucket, missed the cut for a different tournament, not this one. So it just, to me, it just validated this is not a good bucket to choose golfers from. But I do like Ricky and I do like Adam Scott a lot. So it's going to be hard for me not to play one, if not both of them. So we'll see if the optimizer selects them. I might actually just make sure that the optimizer doesn't select more than one of them. Maybe I'll do 2 here and there, but we'll try to keep it 1 or less. The next bucket is 0 to 2. Those are missed cuts from last year. Morikawa, Matsuyama, and then it goes 7K and below. I'm not going to talk about all of them. Yeah, I could see somewhere between 0 to 2. And really, the actual projection was like 1 point something, right? 1.06 to 1.76. I could see at least one of these guys, no matter what. Like, I think I'm going to make sure I select one golfer from here. I really like Hideki Matsuyama this week. I've heard a lot of other people do too, but I think it's a good play. Patrick Rogers at 7,100 seems like a kind of a value play. And like, I don't mind like a Kevin Streelman or a Putnam. $6,400 seems pretty cheap for Putnam. He's 45th in my model, by the way. Yeah, I guess I don't have an issue with any of the golfers 7K and above. Also don't have issues with like Putnam, Streelman, Smalley's kind of iffy. Yeah. Kind of how I look at this bucket. So 0 to 2, yeah, I could see at least 1 for sure being inside the top 10, if not 2. I think I pumped the brakes on Colin Morikawa, though. I'm probably not going to play any of Colin Morikawa. I would take the field in this bucket over Colin Morikawa every single time. So take that for what it's worth. Last bucket is our did not plays from last year. So golfers who didn't play this tournament last year would be in this bucket. 1 to 3 is the projection. Let's take a look. Scotty Scheffler is in this bucket. Now, he has course history, and it's good course history. So that's something to take note of. And we have Hatton, Justin Thomas, Matt Fitzpatrick. Hold on. I don't think that's right. I think Fitzpatrick played here last year. I'm doing an update with the database. Matt Fitzpatrick and Matthew Fitzpatrick doesn't add up. So where are we at? Yeah, so he missed the cut last year, so he should not be in this bucket. That's what I thought. My apologies. How do we have course history on him then? Or do we not? We don't. Okay. We can make that update real quick. So, yeah, let's hate doing it on the fly, but let's just do it. His course history is 60.25. Wow, that's not great. 60.25. I'm gonna have to update this from a different spreadsheet. 85. Okay, so he's really in last week bucket 5. And I need to update that over here because it's also going to update our bucket projections. 60.25, right? Yep. Then we go back. It almost pushes this one over too. It's super close. See how they updated because of that, and this is still 1 to 3. So my apologies once again. I always got to look at that. So now he gets kicked out. And it's Burns, Thomas, Hatton, and Scheffler 8K and above. And it's just a bunch of 7K golfers, including Tom Kim. Yeah, I could see up to 3 golfers from this bucket being inside the top 10. Because we also have some good 6K golfers that I don't mind playing, like Bramlett, Suh, Gordon, Pendrith, Brendan Todd, Austin Eckroat. There's a lot of good 6K golfers. Even Ben Griffin is down here. That's crazy. Ooh, Chris Gotterup. That's an interesting name. Haven't seen him on haven't seen him in any of these events as of late. So I don't know. He had like temporary membership last year and was in a bunch of events, but I haven't really seen much of him this year. I think he's a sneaky play. Anyways, I could see up to 3. If you wanted to select 3 golfers from this bucket to be in your lineups, by all means do so, because it's a good bucket to select golfers from. Okay. That takes care of your last year buckets. We're going to get into the last week buckets and start with our last week ones. These are golfers who top 20 last week's event. So the Charles Schwab Challenge. Any golfer here is in this bucket that finished inside the top 20. There are 14 golfers in that bucket where we would normally see 15. 100% frequency rate of producing a top 10 finisher, by the way. Which is very interesting. Not the same for optimal lineups and not the same for top 5 frequencies. Actually, top 5 frequencies is pretty low. So let's take a look. By the way, if you follow along with me, make sure all your filters are cleared out and then go into the last week ones. Put 1 as the only bucket you want to select. We have Scotty, Victor, Sammy Burns, Ricky Fowler, all 8K and above. And we've got Henley Grillo, English in the 7K range, I was trying to combine Shank and Suh. Justin Suh, Adam Shank, Streelman, like I just mentioned, I like this week. Eckroat, same. Hubbard, Chad Ramey, and David Lipsky. Projection 0 to 2. But we have a 100% frequency rate of having one golfer from this bucket inside the top 10. And also, it's not 100% frequency of this bucket producing an optimal lineup golfer, which to me means usually an expensive golfer from this bucket is inside the top 10. That just kind of points to Scotty Scheffler and Victor Hovland. So we kind of already saw Scotty being in the last year 6 bucket, which you would want a golfer from. A lot of good golfers from that bucket. The only issue with Scotty this week is he has played 3 weeks in a row leading into this event. Now he had 3 weeks off prior to that, but can he like go 5th, 2nd, 3rd? And by the way, PJ Championship was a hard golf course. Oh, by the way, so too was the Charles Schwab Challenge. So is he fatigued? Is he tired? Or is he just young enough where it doesn't matter? Like, how old is he? 26 years old. Is he just young enough where it doesn't matter? Is he tired? So I don't know, man. Scotty Scheffler seems like a pretty decent play. But this bucket is 0 to 2. Keep that in mind. That's the projection for it. I'm not going to talk about the rest of those golfers. We'll move on to the next one. 0 to 2 for our last week 2s. This is that 20 to 40 range from the Charles Schwab Challenge. And Colin Morikawa leads it, but we kind of already talked about with the last week 5 or the last year 5 bucket. Don't want to play Colin Morikawa. I'm cool with fading him. I'll put him in one winner take all lineup, maybe 2, and just if anything, I'll get my money back. But I'm not gonna waste my time playing Colin Morikawa this week. Siwoo Kim is interesting. I actually don't mind that whatsoever. But our projection is 0 to 2. The rest of these names I don't like at all. Like, I could make an argument for Ryan Fox at $7,100. That's pretty cheap. The rest are just wild cards. So in my opinion, this just makes Colin Morikawa's value that much worse. I just don't want to play Colin Morikawa at this event. Siwoo Kim's kind of iffy. But I'm leaning more on not playing Siwoo Kim either. And again, this is a 0 to 2 projection bucket, meaning maybe we don't get a single golfer from this bucket inside the top 10. Maybe not. So that's really interesting. Hard decisions for that one. To me, it's maybe just one golfer or 0. I'm definitely not doing 2, and I'm definitely not doing Morikawa. I also might not do Siwoo Kim. So I no conviction for me into that bucket. Last week 3s is 0 to 2, as is last week 4, as is last week 5. So we're going to do all 3 of these buckets. I'm not going to come back to this page, but 0 to 2, 0 to 2. The next one, the missed cuts, is actually a little bit more formidable, but also probably staying away from that bucket too. So last week 3, remember, projection 0 to 2. Yeah, KH Lee at 7,300, Tom Hoagie. Now, there's some golfers I like here. I like the top 4. Actually, I like the top 5. And I actually don't mind the rest of the guys. I don't mind anybody in this bucket, including Justin Lauer, who made the cut last week, by the way. Didn't score a lot of points, but still serviceable. Yeah. So 0 to 2. I'm cool with that projection. I could see 0. I could see 2. We'll see what the optimizer does. Last week 4s. Yeah, there's only 4 golfers here. That 0 to 2 is probably really 0 to 1. And nobody of like name value whatsoever that I like. So we'll just skip past that. The next one's 0 to 2, but the actual projection is 1 to 2. There are golfers I like here. Now, with it being 0 to 2, that puts a little bit of risk on golfers like Sung Jae and Jordan Spieth, but they also were in the last year 1 bucket, which is top 20 finish here last year at the Memorial. I don't mind playing them. Whether it's Sung Jae or Jordan. I probably won't play them both together, and I'd advocate for you not to do so either. Because again, this projection is 0 to 2. The rest of the guys are also super interesting because, like, I could make an argument for Cam Davis. Probably could make an argument for Denny and Chris Kirk. Maybe not so much Taylor Moore, but I do like Buckley. Davis Riley at $6,900. That's not a bad price tag for a winner on tour, despite it being a team event. Bramlett seems like a good play. And a lot of these other guys seem like pretty decent plays. So 0 to 2. I'm kind of hard pressed not to think one of these guys up here doesn't finish inside the top 10. Kind of giving a little bit more look towards Jordan Spieth. I think that's interesting. I'm going to move on to the last bucket, which is not playing the week before. You got a lot of strength of field points. Almost 50% of your strength of field is in this bucket because a lot of our golfers that are inside the top 50 of the OWGR didn't play the Charles Schwab Challenge that are in this event. So this projection is 2 to 5, and that doesn't change even with the max projection over here. So last week's sixes, you're kind of going to want to anchor. You might want to anchor some of your lineups here. And we start with Rahm. We also have Rory, Cantlay, and Xander. So 2 to 5 is the projection. Easy enough to see 2 here, but maybe you can't put those guys together. That gives you access to 3 more golfers or 4 more golfers down here. Yeah, there are some names that I like. I think Jason Day is just, I'm not touching it, although he is an Ohio native. Not so much a native, that's where his residency is. I don't think I go to Jason Day. Tyrrell Hatton, on the other hand, seems kind of interesting. A golfer I don't think I would have wanted to play, but also don't mind. I don't know if he'll be low ownership, but he's 8th in my model. Just kind of crazy. JT's, I almost feel like a forgotten. I wouldn't say he's going to be forgotten, but I don't think a lot of people are going to want to play him. His recent form has been pretty awful. So he's also in this bucket. Matt Fitzpatrick is in this bucket. Cam Young is in this bucket. Matsuyama. You know, if you wanted to start 10-9-8, it's a pretty solid choice. Like, you wanted to save some money and go Xander at 10-2, maybe Hatton at 9-3, and let's say Hideki Matsuyama. You're leaving you're using up $28,200, meaning you're leaving $21,900 on the table. That, if you average it out, you have like about $7,200 left to build lineups. Well, I've already covered 10-9-8. You just need to find 2 7s and a 6. That should be enough to do just that. So I'm really liking starting this way. And this fits inside that projection of 2 to 5. I don't think it's that easy to do with, say, Rahm, but this leaves you exactly $7,000 remaining for each player, which is very doable. Because you could go like a $6,400 golfer. Here, let's just do it with the golfers that we see here. I'm not selecting any of these guys for any reason, but let's say I like Taylor Pendrith. And say we like Keith Mitchell. Now I got to find someone who is, oh, that's too expensive. $6,700. Yeah, probably not do that. What if I like Seamus? And use some 7,200. So that's 50. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of hard to swallow, honestly. Maybe we don't do 67 and go to like 64. But you could do 2 low 7Ks, a 6K, and a 10-9-8 start going with Rahm, Hatton, and Matsuyama. There's obviously some playing around to do with those lineups, but not terrible. Honestly, you could do worse, put it that way. So that covers your last week buckets. Going into course history. Having the best course history, almost provides 100% frequency of finishing inside the top 10. At least one golfer from this bucket finishing inside the top 10. Now, this bucket is your best course history. That is having an average finishing position between 0 and 20th at this event dating back to 2013. We only have 5 golfers in the bucket this year, where we normally see around 8. We never see more than 1 in the optimal lineup. That's a 66% frequency rate, though. So out of the last, I imagine we're looking at the last 6 years, has to be. 4 out of 6 years, we have one guy from this bucket in the optimal lineup. So projection 0 to 2 doesn't change any with the conservative projection over here. So let's take a look at who those golfers are. Again, if you're following along with me on that cheat sheet, just make sure you've got no other filters anywhere else. Clear everything out of the course history bucket and just select one. Lo and behold, we've got Scotty Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay, Sahith Theegala, Davis Riley, Garrick Higgo. I would say choose one. At most, probably not two. And this isn't for certain, but I'm liking the idea of picking golfers from this range. Now, I'll say this. Davis Riley and Garrick Higgo are out of my mind. I'm really just looking at these three golfers here. So we're looking at those projections again at 0 out of 2. It's a decent success rate of finding the top 5 for golfers in this bucket. At least one golfer from this bucket. Man, this is difficult because it's not a lot of golfers in that bucket. 0 to 2 is a very, very friendly projection. I think it's safe. And I could see it's hard not to think like Scotty or Patrick Cantlay won't finish inside the top 10. Could be an end thing, like they both could finish inside the top 10. And you just need to select the correct golfer. I guess what I'll do this in the strategy video. I'll go through and just take a look at like the best course history. Like there's Cantlay in 2022. Excuse me. He was your best course history guy there. 2020. I guess I'll do it right now. Guess what? Patrick Cantlay was your best course history guy there. So 2 was Scott, but he didn't finish inside the top 10. In 2020, we had Harris English. Okay, so that was where we didn't have one inside the top 10. Weird. In 2019, hey, look at that. Patrick Cantlay. He's your top guy there with course history. 2018, Benny Ann was your guy with the top course history. Interesting. And then Matt Kuchar, 9,400, had really good course history in 2017. We're only seeing one guy, by the way. We're never seeing two. I mean, close, like Tony Finau would be close. He had one event under his belt leading into it. But you got Matt Kuchar again. So it's the same guys, by the way. The same guys that have good course history show up every single year and do well. So that kind of lends itself, in my opinion, to Scheffler or Cantlay. So, and they're 1 and 2 in the model, by the way. So it might just be the thought of starting with one of these guys and going from there. I think the clear picks are Scotty, Rahm, and Cantlay to start your lineups with. You might want to get cute and go with Xander because of ownership reasons or whatever, but it just kind of screams out. Okay, again, this isn't an anchor bucket, so it's not telling you to select a golfer from here, but I just wanted to do a deep dive because these are very prominent names that you can either just disregard or play. It's just crazy. Let's move on. Course history 2, that's at 20 to 40 range. Looks like we want 1 to 3, and that stays the same with our conservative max projection over there. I will move this to course history 2s. And now we have Rory and Xander. So we definitely, okay, so the projection for this bucket is 1 to 3. And I think as long as Rory or Xander don't finish outside the top 5, I think they're worth the play. So the fact that this bucket is telling us or the projection of this bucket is telling us 1 to 3 golfers will finish inside the top 10 from this bucket, give me way more confidence to play someone like Rory or Xander, which is very conflicting because obviously I was just talking about Rahm. I was just talking about Scotty, as well as Patrick Cantlay. Those are the other 3 of 5 golfers inside the top 10. This rounds out the remaining 2. So these are all 5 of your 10K golfers. My opinion, going with a 10K golfer this week, seems pretty smart. Obviously, they're the best golfers anyways, but if you're trying to galaxy brain yourself and not play a 10K golfer, I think that might be foolish. That's why I said what I said. But we also have Tyrrell Hatton here. So if you did want to go Cantlay, remember when we were looking at the last year buckets, or I mean the last week buckets, we had Cantlay, Hatton, and Matsuyama in the same bucket. Well, here we go. We have Hatton here. We had Cantlay in the other one. Matsuyama's probably going to show up in the next one, and we're going to want to select one from each of those. That might be the move. That might be the play. We also have Jordan Spieth here, Corey Connors, Adam Scott. Remember, he was in that bucket with Ricky Fowler, where you wanted to select 0 to 1 or 0 to 2. So super interesting there. I'm not going to talk about the rest of these guys, but these buckets so far are providing kind of a challenge in who to select. Next one's course history 3, projections 2 to 5. We have 40% of our strength of field points here. We normally see around 2 golfers from this bucket inside the top 10. I mean, we have at least 2, 100% frequency rate. Not so much 100% frequency rate when it comes to optimal lineups, but I think that's 4 out of 6 years. We see at least 1 in the optimal lineup. And a low success rate for top 5s, but don't hang your hat on that too much because this is a very large bucket, usually every single year. 31 golfers. We have 44 this week. So I do believe we're going to see at least 2. The projection's 2 to 5. And I think Rahm is in this bucket because of his withdrawal from the COVID thing. Because I do count that towards your course history. So if I actually use the course history page and I scroll down to Rahm, so we have a 10th, 90th, a first, 85. 90 is a withdraw. If I move this to 1, because he was leading that event by a ton, that changes to 24.25, which actually puts him in that bucket we were just talking about. Now, hold on. Let me see what happens if I change his course history to 24.5. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like this, right? This bucket we were just looking at, it was 0 to 2. It now jumps up to... Actually, was it 0 to 2? No, it was still 1 to 3. So it barely moves. It goes 1.3 to 2.1. And it's 1.3, 4 to 2.24. So it just slightly moves up. Okay, so it doesn't really do anything. So there we go. I'm just in the back button because if I move this forward, you see how it says 24.50. Move it back, it's 46.5. Course history, yep, everything's back to normal. Okay, so Rahm is in this bucket. And even if he was in another bucket, it doesn't really change the projections all that much. But he is in here with a bunch of other really good golfers. This projection, once again, is 2 to 5. Doesn't really change with the conservative number here. And we know, at least I know I'm not playing Colin Morikawa. I'm also not playing Jason Day, and I'm probably staying away from Justin Thomas. I really like Rahm. I really like Hovland. I don't mind going to Im, but I also really like Cam Young and Hideki Matsuyama. So just these top guys here, there's 5. I could see each one of these guys finishing inside the top 10. That would cover your projection, meaning you could ignore the rest. But we know that's not how it works with DraftKings or just fantasy golf in general. But 2 to 5 is the projection. And it could be like we only have one 10K golfer out of this bucket. So you literally could play at least two for sure. I think just any two of these, like Rom and Morikawa would be pretty tough. Rom and Hovland would also be pretty tough. You probably couldn't use an 8K golfer. You'd have to drop straight to the 7Ks. But anybody down here paired up with Rom would be just fine. And really, you could probably go Rom and some of these 7K golfers like Mitchell and like say Patrick Rogers. We get our big hitters out there. We could do something like that and build a pretty decent lineup. But M like in Hideki Matsuyama. Remember, we were kind of just talking about that with the last. So far, a lot of things are pointing towards like Cantlay, Rom, or Scheffler, starting with one of those three, pairing them up with Tyrrell Hatton and Hideki Matsuyama. It's seeming pretty good. So I'm not going to talk about the rest of these guys. There's a ton of golfers in this bucket. Remember, the projection is 2 to 5. The next 3 buckets are 0 to 2, and really nothing of significance to talk about when it comes to those. So let's just take a quick look at each of them. Course history 4. Remember, this is 0 to 2. Yeah, not much to talk about. Definitely a lot of question marks in here. Burns and Wyndham Clark and Cam Davis, by the way. Well, actually, these 4. Hoagie, Davis, Clark, Burns. I think those are all good names. And I could see one of them finishing inside the top 10. But this is a 0 to 2 projection. You could literally have 0 finish inside the top 10. Course history 5. Ooh, this is an easy 0 to 2. Although there are some interesting names, like Kurt Kitayama is an interesting name. So too is Taylor Moore. So too is Ryan Fox. I won't be anchoring any of my lineups around these guys. I'll let the optimizer do its work. And then golfers who have 0 course history is not Matt Fitzpatrick, by the way. He's actually in bucket 4. That again. Tom Kim, first time playing. Taylor Montgomery. Thomas Dietrich. Just a few names, but interesting names nonetheless. A lot of really good, great talent, by the way. Remember, the projection here is 0 to 2, so don't get caught up with some of these younger guys. I don't want a lot. In fact, if we just go look at the raw numbers for the buckets, and I go to top 10, let's do course history. So course history is this top bucket right here, and we take a look all the way across. We had 4 in 2020, and 1, 1, 1, 2 in 2015. So let's go to 2020. Why were there 4? Ryan Palmer, who was a veteran, Matt Wallace, a European, Henrik Norlander was a true rookie, Xinjun Zhang, another rookie. So very interesting. 2 rookies there. Huh. Then we had 1 in 2019, Martin Keimer, so a European golfer. 2018, we also had 1, Joaquin Niemann, who would have been a rookie. Very talented golfer. Do we see anything else that kind of meets some criteria? No, it doesn't look like it. And 2017, we had, nope, 0 golfers with 0 course history. John Curran would have been a veteran in 2016. Like, he'd played a lot. Same with Francesco Molinari. Tony Finau, I might have been a rookie here. So a good golfer. So yeah. That goes back to the last course history. So having no course history, and these are your golfers, 1 seems safe if you wanted to play 1, but maybe not doing more than 1, because only 1 year did we have 2 or more. We had 4, obviously. Do we have a European that's in this bucket? Like a decent European name? Maybe Thriston Lawrence? Anybody like more prominent? I guess Thomas Dietrich, right? That might be a reason to play Thomas Dietrich. I don't really see anyone else that I would consider, I guess Ben Taylor. Palmer, Norlander was 6,300. Matt Wallace was 7,000. Keimer was 68. Joaquin Neiman was 73. Okay. So Thomas Dietrich just looks to be our best bet. I guess Steven Yeager being a German, maybe, but he calls Tennessee his home state. I don't know. I guess not. I think Thomas Dietrich would be our best bet to fill that role from this bucket. Unless we just count international golfers, then we can use Tom Kim. Interesting stuff. Okay. Going to the next bucket. Recent form. Recent form 1 is having the best recent form. Our projection 0 to 2 to finish inside the top 10. And not even like a super good frequency rate of finishing inside the top 10. We have 6 golfers in that bucket this year, where we normally see around 6. Healthy strength of field points going into it. Now, I already know who's in this bucket, and it's kind of scary to consider that 0 to 2, and that's a 50% frequency rate of finishing inside the top 10. We have Scotty Scheffler. Oh yeah, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, Tyrrell Hatton. This kind of puts a little roadblock in the lineup building, because I really wanted to go Scotty or Cantlay, pair him up with Tyrrell Hatton. Now, the projection allows us to do that. You can have 0 to 2. That is what the actual projection is. So we could have up to 2. And all that means is if you do go Scotty or Cantlay and you pair him up with Tyrrell Hatton, you just don't play Corey Connors or Adam Scott, which you probably wouldn't do anyways because it would be too expensive. This is super interesting. Huh. I mean, I don't know what else to say. 0 to 2 is a fair projection, and I actually do see 2 golfers. So I could, as much as I kind of said pump the brakes or there's a roadblock, I'm actually okay with it. I think it kind of still gives us, you know, credence to play Scheffler or Cantlay with Tyrrell Hatton. Okay, that works. The next bucket is recent form 2s, and we want 2 to 5. That doesn't change even with the conservative max projection. So coming in with good recent form is proven to be good at this event. That's Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland, Justin Thomas, Sung J M, Matt Fitzpatrick, Hideki Matsuyama. So there's our Matsuyama pick, by the way. Okay, hey, I'm actually liking this a little bit more. Just the thought process. This bucket is 2 to 5, right? That last one we were just looking at was 0 to 2. I had said I liked Rahm, Scheffler, or Cantlay paired up with Hatton and Matsuyama. Well, Hatton would just be counting as one guy from that last bucket. Seems pretty reasonable. So maybe we go Rahm, Hatton, Matsuyama. I think I have a huge choice when it comes to building lineups, starting with Rahm. Either going Rahm, Hatton, Matsuyama, or Scheffler, Hatton, Matsuyama, or Cantlay, Hatton, Matsuyama. I mean, it's Monday night. Too early to think about those things, but I'd like to start the creative process right now, like Monday, and try to figure out who to build those lineups around. By the way, Dietrich, who we were just talking about in the last week's 6 bucket, the course history 6 bucket, is also in this bucket. So 2 to 5, remember, that's the projection of being inside the top 10. Seems pretty solid. We'll see. We'll do some more digging, but that seems pretty good to start with. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the guys. This is a good bucket to choose from. There's 2 to 5. Remember that. The next one is actually 1 to 4, which I find very interesting. I always think it's interesting when 1 to 4 shows up, but it makes sense. Guess what? I'm not playing either of those 2 guys. Probably also not playing Spieth. Although I'm very, like, I don't want to. That leaves really no one else to play that's of a high price range. So, like, Sam Burns, Shane Lowry, those are some decisions to make. Kim is here from the Course History 6 bucket we were just looking at with Thomas Dietrich in it. Siwoo Kim. Yeah, lots of interesting names here. A ton of 7K golfers, so that helps when trying to use 7 or trying to think of which 7K golfers to play. You know, Ryan Fox might seem like an interesting choice. So too is Steven Yeager. Yeah, okay. Again, I'll let the buckets do their work, or the optimizer do its work. I don't know who to select from here, but I kind of really giving up on the Colin Morikawa and Jason Day, any lineups with them in it. Moving on to the next one, 0 to 2 out of the next couple buckets. So let's fly through those ones. 0 to 2, starting with Cam Young, and then recent form 4 is just not really having super good recent form. By the way, Cam Young doesn't have good course history and doesn't have good recent form heading into this event. That's crazy, right? Why is his recent form so bad? Oh, that's why. 51st at the RBC Heritage, 59th at the Wells Fargo Championship, a missed cut at the PGA. Interesting. Okay. I don't like that. Didn't see that before. That's alarming. That's concerning. This bucket is 0 to 2, by the way. So I think I just don't think about playing Cam Young at all. Matsuyama seems like the play. Although Cam Young, this seems like a good course fit for him. Yeah, maybe I just don't. Say that I did and don't. 0 to 2 out of this bucket seems very, very, very reasonable because it's all 6K golfers. Okay, let's move on. Recent form 5s. This is also 0 to 2 and really not worth mentioning. We can move on. Glover and Kisner in there. No, thank you. Recent form 6s. Probably also not playing this. Like I was talking about, I haven't seen Chris Gotterup in a long time. I also haven't seen Brandt Snedeker in a long time. I'm not going to play the club twirling fool Sam Bennett. I don't care. Just don't care. I don't care how well he did at the Masters. I'm not playing him. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. I could consider Chris Gotterup though. I don't know what his game is. I don't know where it's at, but seems interesting. Might even buy some Rainmaker cards of his. It's got to be cheap. So that covers all of your recent form buckets. Some really interesting choices that we just went over. Let's go over some salaries. The salary buckets. We don't really have to talk about these golfers. Like we don't have to go salary by salary. I'm just going to tell you what those price tags are. Just remember they have everything to do, or what the projections are. They have everything to do with the quality of golfer for each price tag and what has happened over the last 7 years, 6 years of salaries at the Memorial Tournament. Last week, we had a projection at the Charles Schwab Challenge for the 10K range, 1 to 3 golfers to finish inside the top 10 from the 10K range. This week it's 0 to 2, which is alarming. It's very concerning. We don't have a 100% frequency rate, but our success rate is pretty high, 29.03. If we were to go to the raw buckets and just take a look at salaries, we're looking at top 10s. So this one right here. In 2020, we didn't have a 10K golfer inside the top 10. And in 2017, we didn't have a 10K golfer inside the top 10. So if we take a look at 2020, this was COVID. This is post-COVID, or coming back from COVID, I should say. Bryson was a 10K golfer. Justin Thomas was. McIlroy was. DJ was. And Colin Morikawa were. And only one guy finished top 20. That was JT. Rory actually scored more DK points than he did. Than JT, that is. not great, honestly. This looks like Scotty Scheffler's line right now. 9 for recent form. Oh, he finished 32nd. Patrick Cantlay did. Oh, I was looking at something else. Wow, this could actually be one of those events that we just don't go with the hot hand. Although maybe probably just a foolish way. So 2020 and 2017 were the only years we didn't see a 10K golfer inside the top 10. But I can see Spieth there finished 13th. That's pretty darn close. DJ, miscut. Rahm, miscut. It's crazy. Spieth, Day, and Matsuyama. Now, they finished 13th and 15th, Spieth and Day did, but not Matsuyama. Matsuyama finished 45th. It's a made cut, but it's not paying off your price tag. And actually, really, the big hitters were, 9th in the salary leaderboard, 11th and 12th. So 94, 89, and 87. Pretty same. That's like very close to, I guess, 12th and 13th. Interesting. 12th and 13th. So 12th stays there, and 11th. Huh. Very interesting. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Like our 12th and 11th through 13th place right here. It would kind of, if we were following those 2 years, so it's very, very short-sighted. Does an optimal lineup golfer come from these 3 golfers, JT, Im, or Fitzpatrick? I don't know. I don't think that's exactly where I wanted to go with that. I was looking at 10K golfers, and it's hard not to consider any of these guys with finishes from last year and their recent form, and even their course history. One of these 10K golfers is going to be inside the top 10. Okay, that's where we're going at. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, it's kind of foolish not to think that. 9K, 0 to 2. So not even showing a lot of confidence here either. Same goes with the 8K range. Now this says 1 to 2. Does this go up or down? Nope, it's down. So it's 2 is the max. So 0 to 2 for the 8K range. 1 to 3 for the 7K range. That seems about right. And 0 to 2 are the 6Ks. It's crazy. They all equal up how they should. I don't know. It's pretty wide open. Like the 7K range is really the only bucket that's like you want at least one, which we typically see every single year anyways when we're looking at the buckets, or every single week, I should say. Okay. So I don't really know what to tell you when it comes to the salary buckets. I am very confident in playing a 10K golfer. Not so confident playing a 9K golfer, and not so confident playing an 8K golfer. Although there are names in each of those ranges that are pretty darn good. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm not going to sit here and try to guess as to why it's that way. Seems pretty wide open. When it comes to the strokes gained buckets, now, the wonderful thing that I have on the cheat sheet is if you were to go sort the strokes gained bucket from top to bottom, I have it color coordinated based off of the strokes gained buckets. So we got a lot of people in that strokes gained 1 bucket. We have 25 where we normally see around 18. 50% of our strength of field points go towards this, and the projection is 2 to 4. When you see the golfers that are in here, like Rahm, McIlroy, Cantlay, Schauffele, there's our guy Hatton is also in here. Sungjae and Fitzpatrick I just mentioned with the salaries. Is there an optimal lineup guy right there? Maybe. 2 to 4 seems pretty fair. And it could be 2 10K golfers that finish inside the top 10. That doesn't mean you want to pair those guys up. And it also means you don't want to just automatically put 2 in your lineup. I think when I put this in the bucket system, it's just going to read, or in the optimizer, it's just going to read 1 to 4. Because of how many 10K golfers we have. I mean, there's just a high likelihood we're going to have 2 of these guys inside the top 10. Versus, you know, 2 or more of these guys being inside the top 10. So, something to consider. 0 to 2 strokes gained 2. Now, if you want to know what these buckets mean, I would highly encourage you to watch the bucket system video that I have in the description, because that'll explain it. Otherwise, if I do it right now, it's just going to add that much more time. And we're already at 2 hours. So I said I was going to go quick with this, and I wasn't. 0 to 2. We have Hovland, Burns, Adam Scott, and then it's 7K and below. I think 0 to 2 is a pretty solid number. I like Victor. I also like Scott. Outside of that, Mitchell's fine too. Outside of that, I don't think it... I'm not doing any anchor plays here. Strokes gained 3, 1 to 4. It's the actual projection. 1 to 4. That's interesting. Scotty's up here. And then a guy I don't want to play in Colin Morikawa. Another guy I don't want to play in Cam Young. But Hideki is here as well, who I do want to play. And then everyone else is affordable down here. Justin Thomas, maybe not so much. By the way, now that I think about it, everyone being affordable, that actually makes more... if this bucket truly is 1 to 4... I think I put more emphasis on these guys up here, which means I probably put more emphasis on Scheffler. I almost want to say it's a slam dunk with Matsuyama, and it's weird to say. That's not what we should be saying, but I like it. Okay. The next bucket, strokes gained 4. 0 to 2, and actually 0 to 2 for the rest of them. We're not actually going to talk about strokes gained 6, but strokes gained 4 and 5 is 0 to 2. Yeah. When it starts at 7K and we really only have how many 7K golfers? 7. 0 is a very likely number, and 2 is a very likely maximum. Like, you wouldn't want more than 2 from this bucket. So careful when you build your lineups. Could there be more than 2? Sure, but they probably won't be in the optimal lineup. And we scroll down to the 5s. 0 to 2 is our projection here, and you probably won't want more than 2. So, kind of cruised through the last bit there, but I just noticed it was 2 hours, and it's late, so I'm going to head to bed here soon. That covers the preview. That covers the bucket system. Thank you all for watching. Just a reminder, we are doing giveaways. I did run one earlier. Check it out. It's at the beginning of the video. I think Ian Christensen won. So Ian, contact me. But if you want a chance to win $50 or even $5 weekly giveaway or a $50 monthly giveaway, be subscribed and comment down below. Now, we had to hit that sub goal. That's way over there to the left. Have to hit it. We're 3 subscribers away. If we don't hit it, I will give away a t-shirt with this logo on it, the SweetSpotDFS logo. But if we do hit it, I'm going to give away $50. Also, if you're not on Prize Picks, check the description of this video. It'll send you, there's a link that'll send you to the homepage. You just go hit sign up. The promo code SweetSpot will all be repopulated. I will give you $20. Plus, you can play for free every Friday for $20. There's a protected flex every single Friday. Prize Picks is also going to match your deposit, so you're going to have $40 in your account, and you just get free lotto tickets every Friday to play. So check it out. But that is all that I have for you guys. So thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.